than have an accident. Sort of accident. The choice is wide, but perhaps the simplest thing would be to get run over by a taxi cab. Have you ever been run over by a taxi cab? Dozens of times. Did it hurt? It just kind of a tingling sensation. Egbert mused a while. That does seem the best thing to do. Much the best. And there's no need to get actually run over. I could just step off into the road and stick a leg out. Exactly. The charioteer will do the rest. Christmas Day dawned with its sprinkling of snow, its robin redbreasts, and all the things that one has always been led to expect. And as it progressed, Egbert's determination to follow the doctor's advice became solidified. He was not altogether persuaded of the accuracy of the later statement that getting together with a taxicab caused merely a kind of tingling sensation. But even if the results were far worse, they must be faced. As he walked to his aunt's house, he was encouraged to see that there was no stint of the necessary vehicles. They whizzed to and fro in dozens, and to extend a leg in front of one of them would be a task well within the scope and of the least gifted man. It was simply a matter of making one's selection. Pardon me. He rejected the first that came along because he disliked the driver's mustache. The second because the cab was the wrong color. And he was just about to step in front of the third, which met all his qualifications, when he paused with leg in air. He had suddenly remembered that his aunt's birthday was on February the 11th, by which time he would be out of hospital and expected to be a guest at a banquet with which she always celebrated her natal day. And her birthday dinners, as he knew full well, were just as stupendous as those at Christmas. Of course, it would be open to him to get knocked down by another taxicab on February 10th. But if he yielded to this temptation, how would his superiors at the office react? Would they not shake their heads and say to one another, "Mulliner has gotten into a rut," and feel that the services of an employee so accident-prone were better dispensed with? It was a possibility that froze his feet and caused both his chins to tremble. The salary the taxpayers paid him for drinking tea at 4 o'clock every day was not as generous as he could have wished, but it was all he had. Bereft of it, he would be penniless, and he would not even be able to beg his bread in the streets, for his medical advisor had expressly forbidden him all starchy foods. Only one course lay before him. Whatever the price involved, he must continue on his way to his aunt's residence, and there, tuck, though with heavy heart, into the caviar, the turtle soup, the turkey, the plum pudding, the mince pies, the biscuit tortini, the hot rolls with butter, and the crystallized fruit, washing them down with hock, champagne, port, and liqueurs. If the worst happened, he reflected, for he was a philosophical man, it would be just one more grave among the hills. Nevertheless, though philosophical, it was in no buoyant mood that he came to journey's end and exchanged Christmas greetings with his aunt in her ornate drawing room. There was, he noted, even more of her than when they had last met. She, too, had started life as a bouncing baby, and from there had grown into a globular girl, finishing up as one of the 3 stoutest women in West 1 Postal Division of London. He delivered his Christmas gift, and in return she pressed into his hand an oblong slip of paper. "The money for your partnership, dear," she said. It would have seemed incredible to anyone, seeing Egbert, that he was capable of swelling with ecstasy any more than he was swelling already. But at these words he seemed to expand, like one of those odd circular fish you find down in Florida, which when hauled to the surface puff themselves out like balloons. His nose quivered, his ears wiggled, his eyes, usually devoid of any expression whatsoever, shone like twin stars. He had not felt such a gush of elation since his 7th birthday, when somebody had given him a box of chocolates and he had devoured the top layer and supposed that that was the end of it, and then found that there was a second layer lurking underneath. He put his arms round his aunt's waist as far as they would go and kissed her fondly. "How can I thank you?" he murmured brokenly. I thought you would be pleased, dear, she said, but now I'm afraid I have a little disappointment for you. Do you read a magazine called Pure Diet and World Redemption? Is that the one with all the pictures of the girls without clothes on? No, that's Playboy. I subscribe to that regularly. This one is all about vegetarianism. A copy was left here by mistake last week. I glanced at it idly, and my whole outlook has become changed. It said vegetarianism was absolutely vital, essential prerequisite to a new order of civilization in which humanity will have become truly humane. Egbert, as far as possible for one of his stoutness, leapt in his chair. A wild thought had flashed into his mind, such as it was. Not even if he had been a victim of bubonic plague could the feeling he was feeling have been funnier. Do you mean? It said that only thus can there come peace on earth with cessation of wars, the evolution of crime, diseases, insanity, poverty, and oppression. And you can't say that wouldn't be nice, now can you, dear? As a rule, Egbert, when speaking, had the beautifully clear enunciation found only in the civil service, but now emotion made him stutter. Do you mean, he cried, inserting 5 or 6 extra letters into the word, that you have become a vegetarian? Yes, dear. There won't be any turkey tonight. I'm afraid not. No turtle soup, no mince pies. I know how disappointed you must be. Egbert, who had leapt in his chair, sprang from it, like some lithesome adagio dancer, a feat against the performance of which any knowledgeable bookmaker would have given odds of at least 100 to 8. Disappointed, he thundered. Disappointed I couldn't be more pleased. I've just become vegetarian myself. Well, practically. I wouldn't touch a turkey with a 10-foot pole. What shall we be having for dinner? To start, seaweed soup. Most nutritious. Then mock salmon. It's a zucchini-colored pink. Splendid. Followed by nut cutlets with spinach. Capital. And in orange. We split one? No, one each. It's Christmas. A positive banquet. God bless us, every one, said Egbert. He had a feeling that he had heard this before somewhere, but we cannot all be original. And it seemed to him to sum up the situation about as nearly as the situation could be summed up. Thank you for coming, everyone, and have a lovely holiday.